Lab 3 Shell Programming. In this lab we will discuss what is shell and how we can do shell programming in Ubuntu. The objective of this lab is to familiarize yourself with the shell programming. The tools required to perform this lab is Ubuntu operating system and the terminal. We will do the following tasks: knowing what is shell and terminal and their role, knowing Ubuntu editors, running first shell script. If you are using any major operating system, you are indirectly interacting to shell. If you are running Ubuntu, Linux, Mint or any other Linux distribution, you are interacting to shell every time you use terminal. In this lab, we will discuss about Linux shells and shell scripting. So before understanding shell scripting, we have to get familiarized with following terminologies: kernel, shell and terminal. What is kernel? The kernel is a computer program that is the core of a computer's operating system, which everything with complete control over everything in the system. It manages following resources of the Linux system. Number one, file management, process management, IO management, memory management, device management, etc. It is often mistaken that Linus Torvalds has developed Linux operating system, but actually he is only responsible for development of Linux kernel. Complete Linux system is equal to kernel plus GNU system utilities and libraries plus other management scripts plus installation scripts. Now let's discuss what is shell. A shell is a special user program which provide an interface to user to use operating system services. Shell accept human readable commands from user and convert them into something which kernel can understand. It is a command language interpreter that execute commands read from input devices such as keyboard or from files. The shell gets started when the user logs in or start the terminal. Shell is broadly classified into two categories: command line shell, graphical shell. Command line shell can be accessed by user using a command line interface. A special program called terminal in Linux or command prompt in Windows operating system is provided to type in the human readable commands such as cat, ls, and then it is being executed. The result is then displayed on the terminal to the user. A terminal in Ubuntu systems have text editor. In terminal, it will list all the files in current working directory in long listing format. Working with command line shell is a bit difficult for the beginners because it is hard to memorize so many commands. It is very powerful. It allows user to store commands in a file and execute them together. This way, any repetitive task can be easily automated. The files are usually called batch files in Windows and shell scripts in Linux Mac operating systems. There are several shells are available for Linux system like Bash, Born Again shell. It is most widely used shell in Linux system. It is used as default login shell in Linux system and in Mac operating systems. It can also be installed on Windows operating system. C shell. The C shell syntax and usage are very similar to the C programming language. Then Corn shell. The Corn shell also was the base for the POSIX shell standard specification. Each shell does the same job but understand different commands and provide different built-in functions. Now let's discuss shell scripting. Usually shells are interactive, that means they accept commands as input from users and execute them. However, sometimes we want to execute a bunch of commands routinely. So we have to type in all commands each time in terminal. As shell can also take commands as input from file, we can write these commands in a file and can execute them in a shell to avoid their repetitive work. These files are called shell scripts or shell programs. Shell scripts are similar to the batch file in MS-DOS. Each shell script is saved with .sh file extension, that is myscript.sh. A shell script have syntax just like any other programming language. If you have any prior experience with any programming language like Python, C, C++, it would be very easy to get started with it. A shell script comprises following elements: shell keywords, if, else, break, shell commands, cd, ls, echo, pwd, touch, functions, control flow, if then else, case, and shell loops. Why do we need shell scripts? There are many reasons to write shell scripts: to avoid repetitive work and automation. System admins use shell scripting for routine backups, system monitoring, adding new functionality to the shell. Now let's implement our first example. Uh, Write a shell script to input your name and display this information on terminal. If you have Ubuntu installed on your system, then to open the bash shell in Ubuntu, simply click on the dash home button in the top left corner, type terminal and click on the terminal icon, and here you will see you get something like this. The terminal will be launched. Here you can, in this picture above, you can see the terminal. It is a program that enables you to interact with the Linux shell but also support many features beyond the basic shell, such as copying and pasting text. Font changes. On the left of the @ sign is your username. Since I don't have system installed on my system, we can use free online bash shells to practice our scripts. Here I have typed the code we have discussed in manual. This is the first command: echo, enter your name. It will print enter your name, and then this is read command. Read command is used to get input from keyboard, and it will be stored in the name variable. Then echo, enter your program name, and then read program, then echo, enter your enrollment number, and then read enroll. And after executing all these commands, the screen will be cleared. Now let's hit run. It will ask to enter your name. I'm typing my name. Hit enter. Now next command will be executed. Enter your program name. I'm typing here Ubuntu. After that it will ask enrollment number, and after this command the screen will be clear. This is how you can execute script in Linux environment, or if you are using any online bash shell, you can practice here.